Hey guys, Taki here. Today I'm gonna go over the endgame setup that I've been using to farm T17s, and I've even done some Ubers on my Bladestorm Berserker with Owl's Bloodline, which gives me elemental ailment immunity and base max action speed by not having sockets in my boots and body armor. And to work around this downside, well, I'm using Kaum's Heart, which doesn't have any sockets to begin with, and gives me an almost 8k life pool, which is really nice synergy with the All Ascendancy. And that was really the main reason I chose it, but I managed to work in the base action speed as well from boots by using a vulnerability on hit ring and frenzy charge Ralakesh boots to drop my poacher's mark on hit setup and blood rage and still be able to maintain frenzy charges. I also get overleech from the soul tether belt, which is really nice and just mitigates the berserker life degen. And my DPS is just under 10 million, which I think is pretty comfortable for tier 17s, especially when you're able to face tank a lot of the mechanics. And I've still managed to keep the budget pretty low, around 15 divines or so. You can get really good rares this patch from the league mechanic, from the tree. And the couple uniques that I'm using are also pretty cheap. The Ralakesh being the most expensive one, and you can get a nice corruption on Kaum's Heart as well. I got the damage one, but you could get reduced damage taken from crits or something like that as well. And I'm using a Watcher's Eye with Impale from Pride, which when I bought it was like 200 chaos, I'm not sure what it is now, but yeah, the budget is still pretty low, and yeah, I'll put the endgame PoB for this in the description if you just want to check out the character, and if you want to know how to level this build and the early mapping progression, I'll put a link to my League Starter video in the description as well. But yeah, now I'm just gonna go over the character and some of the changes I made. If you've been watching this since League Start, you'll notice a couple of differences, and yeah, let's get into the character. So I'm level 97 right now, and yeah, I've been running a lot of T17s. I really like the Citadel map because, well, the boss has a mechanic that is pretty much just completely negated with the base max action speed, and a little bit same with the Fortress boss. Those are my preferred tier 17s, but I really kind of like every tier 17 except Sanctuary. The reason I don't like Sanctuary is because, well, the AoE on Bladestorm just isn't that great, and that map is kind of more open, so I prefer the ones that are like more of a closed corridor, which is pretty much every tier 17 except Sanctuary. So that's the content I like to run. I think you can do pretty much any league mechanics or stuff that you want in tier 17s. I'm doing some like Beyond and Abyss stuff, but I also just like rushing the boss pretty much. And yeah, I think the character is able to handle pretty much any type of strategy you want to run, except maybe some really juiced up ones, maybe not, but yeah, like I said, the character is still pretty budget, so yeah, I think it does pretty well for what the cost is, and I think it's a skill that nobody else uses, Bladestorm of Uncertainty, right? So it's pretty off meta, but yeah, I'm gonna go over the character. So for the Ascendancy, it's Precursor's release from Owls. Yeah, elemental ailment immunity and no damage, or sorry, well, you can move around some things. So you get action speed cannot be modified below base value if you have no equipped boots with no socketed gems. Well, you could switch around the gems if you wanted to be crit immune for like just a map or so. You could just switch it around from the boots to the gloves, or maybe even the helm if you wanted to. Helm gives stun immunity. I don't really care about being stunned because I have so much life. I don't notice getting stunned pretty much ever. I could have taken Unwavering Stance as well if I wanted that, but I prefer to have just, even though I don't have pretty much any evasion with this, I still get like 30% evasion with the Jade Flask, which is pretty good. So that just helps with like multi-hit defense. And if I do get stunned, I can't get chain stunned at least with the Soldier Branking. But you could go for a stun immune setup and take one of the other ones, I guess. But I'm pretty happy with this setup. So that's one of the points. Up until you can get this, I farmed it myself. I just went into Delve until I found Owl. And before that, I was using the Aspect of Carnage. So if you don't have Owls, you can run that. But then you need some other way to fix your elemental ailment immunity. So that's just for the start, like when you're if you haven't like started the league yet, and I mean, you could just buy a carry if you wanted to play this. If you have, it's kind of expensive. I think it became more meta than people expected, but yeah, I was planning on it from the start. So the rest of the Ascendancy is Defy Pain for, again, for multi-hit defense, since I don't have much evasion, but combined with just the Jade Flask with the evasion roll, you can tank, face tank big groups of monsters. But we don't have spell suppression, so that's one kind of downside of this build. But yeah, still very tanky. And the other Ascendancies is Crave the Slaughter and Rite of Ruin for just more damage and attack speed. And the tree is looking something like this. I'm running Resolute Technique as the only keystone, and yeah, going around the tree for some max rage, which is obviously scaling pretty well on Berserker, and Fortify here, and Endurance charges here, also pressing Enduring Cry for Endurance charges on bosses. Frenzy charges are fixed by the boots, like I mentioned. We're going Impale, and yeah, you get Fizz reduction, chance to ignore enemy Fizz damage reduction, 50% here and 30% here. You could take this Mastery as well to just have 100%. I'm thinking about maybe dropping this cluster and just going for 100% there, and just maybe taking a cluster jewel here. But that's for now. I'm running this with, yeah, I guess 80% chance to ignore, which feels fine in my opinion. And then we have some instant leech here, which is nice. When you're running Soul Tether, which gives Immortal Ambition, you can still get a little bit of energy shield through instant leech. So you'll see maybe in some of the clips that I do actually get some of my energy shield, and that is because I have some instant leech. But having instant leech is just really nice to fill up your HP bar really quickly. And then I have some crit mitigation here, and yeah, you can check out the tree in your own pace. And again, if you want to see progressive leveling trees, that is in the League Starter video and in the POB over there. For the jewels, like I said, I'm running a Watcher's Eye here. With Impales, you inflict last 2 additional hits by using Pride. And then I have Foulborn the Red Dream here to give a decent amount of life. I'm thinking about probably switching this for Light of Meaning with Fist damage, but that's like 10 divines, and that's pretty much the current, that would almost double the budget of the build. But that's one kind of late game upgrade you can do, because I don't think there's a massive difference in the life, and getting it gives probably something like 15% more damage or something like that. But for now I'm using the Red Dream, and then I get Mana Leech here on a jewel. If you wanted to work in another jewel, you could get Mana Leech here. You could drop these 2 nodes, or 3 nodes I guess, and just spend 1 more point and get the Leech here and get the same effect. Right now I'm running Alera even, so if you were to get enough resist on your gear to drop Alera, you could get that point here and get another jewel if you wanted, a timeless jewel or something like that. Maybe if you're getting a cluster, you could get Forbidden Flame and Flash for some Juggernaut node maybe. But yeah, that's the tree. So for the gear, I'm running Calm's Heart and Ralikesh Impatience, like I mentioned, and Soul Tether. These are the 3 uniques. I'm getting the vulnerability on hit here. I recombined this ring, just tier 1 or tier 2 life if you want a little higher odds, and the cursed enemies with vulnerability on hit, just recombine them, and then multi-mod is what I did. And then yeah, you do want 2 crafts of the non-channeling skills have total mana cost. Doesn't matter too much, but it makes it so we don't need life tap and still be able to get Molten Shell off every time on cast damage taken, and jump around with Leap Slam for free. And yeah, so that's the jewelry. You want some basically just life resist, chaos res, 2 of those crafts. You get damage while leeching on the amulet and the gloves, and yeah, you do need some dex and int to fix your attributes. It's pretty much for the int, it's just Herald of Purity. If you're missing a little bit of int, you can just down level it a little bit. And the helm is looking like this. I think I prefer maybe. It doesn't really matter if you get a full armor base or armor innovation. It's yeah, it's not too important. You can get the fist damage taken from hits as chaos damage, or I mean, I have a little bit more lightning or like a fire resist, I guess, would be the best to have, but doesn't matter too much. And reduced mana cost of attacks helps a little bit, but it's not too important. Impale chance on the gloves is kind of nice to get to 100% chance to impale. And then attack speed is also just more damage, so pretty good. My axe is looking like this. I just bought it like this. You can get just one with a lot of PDPS, or like this one has Culling Strike. I don't have any other sources of Culling Strike, so getting it on the axe is kind of nice. It's a Warlord suffix that you can slam on, I guess. But yeah, like I said, I just bought this for, I think, 400 chaos, but that was a couple of days ago. I imagine it would be probably even cheaper now. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the gear. It's not min-maxed by any means, but does the job quite well. My flasks are looking like this. I have Granite Flask with armor, Quicksilver Flask with just more movement speed, Quartz Flask with Curse Effect, and yeah, the Jade Flask with more evasion, and a Instant Life Flask with bleeding immunity. But we are already Corrupted Blood immune from the Ralakesh. And the Grafts, I'm running this Impaling Ul Graft, which is really good. Violent Desire, 30% chance to inflict an additional impale, and 21% increased effect of impale. For the rolls on this, you want global fist damage on the prefixes, and the suffixes increased cooldown recovery rate and skill effect duration makes it so you have pretty much 100% uptime on it. And for the other one, I'm running a Molten Soft Graft for Heart of Flame, which is basically a second Molten Shell with a 20-second cooldown that doesn't depend on your armor, which we don't have a ton of armor, so it's pretty good. Same thing there, you just want cooldown recovery, and if you can get the prefix attack damage is kind of nice, and I don't have skill effect duration as well, but I guess you could get that too. So those are the Grafts, and yeah. Going over the gems, starting with the 6th link, I'm running Bladestorm of Uncertainty. With melee fist damage support, you can get this awakened. Multi-strike, I guess you can get this awakened as well, but that's pretty expensive. Impale, Brutality, which there's also awakened, but like I said, I haven't invested too much into this character yet, so still running non-woke gems, and then close combat. I'll talk a little bit about how Bladestorm works. So you can put out, as you can see, there's like maximum of 4 Bladestorms at a time. So if you check the POB, you will see I have it configured to 5 Bladestorms, which is kind of, so you have 4 Bladestorms up, but then you're also counting the actual attack. And the actual attack hits twice as hard actually. So you could put the count to 6 on the Bladestorms if you wanted to get the closest to the real DPS, but you don't always have. There's a little bit of ramp time, I guess, but yeah, whatever. I put the setting to 5, and yeah, that's how Bladestorm works. With the uncertainty, it doesn't care about which stance you're in. You're getting just a random storm, so yeah, you get more attack speed when you're standing in a Bloodstorm, and more movement speed if you're in a Sandstorm. But you always have pretty much every storm up. So yeah, you're getting the damage benefit from standing in the Bloodstorm at least. So that's the Bladestorm. For the auras, I'm running Flesh and Stone and Pride. For the most part, I'm in Sand stance for Flesh and Stone, but and that gives you less damage taken. And but you can go Blood stance every now and then because you're so tanky anyway. So you can just get a little, like 20% more damage by switching to Blood stance every now and then. And Herald of Purity as my last aura, just for a little bit of more damage. And then Enduring Cry, like I said, for keeping endurance charges up on bosses. And we have the this node to keep them up on during mapping, and I have 100% increased charge duration just to not have to press it as often, because yeah, you don't really want them to drop. But yeah, that's like a pretty flexible point. Same with like monsters cannot block your attacks. That's just for like to be able to run a lot of different tier 17 mods, which is kind of what I built this character to do. Moving on, I have Frost Blink and Leap Slam. You don't really need faster attacks with Leap Slams, so it looks like I'm Leap Slamming kind of slow, but that's because I'm not in combat. When I'm actually hitting things and getting the close combat, combat rush buff, you Leap Slam really fast, so you don't need faster attacks on it. You don't need life tap because you have these Grafts, so yeah, just a singular Leap Slam with nothing to it. And then Molten Shell, actually Vol Molten Shell, it's nice to be able to press it if you know you're going to take a lot of damage, and yeah, with just cast on damage taken support. So level 1 and level 7. Maybe you could do some other levels, but I prefer to just have it trigger as often as possible. And yeah, there's not a lot of gems because there's none in the chest and none on the boots. So like, yeah, the reason I'm able to do this is because I'm not running... The meta is of course using like War Cries and what's it called? Like this node Warbringer and just exerting every attack with overexertion. But I wanted to do something a little bit different. It wouldn't be so fun to just make another like Earthshatter Slam build or whatever. Although you could even do an overexertion Bladestorm build anyways. But yeah, I wanted to do something different. I think it works really well. I can do a lot of tier 17 mods. The only one I really can't do is Fizz Reflect. And I also just no leech and max recovery rate reduction is also just kind of bricked. So those are the 3 mods that I avoid. And there's some other stuff like the Exarch runes and the Awakener's Desolation turns off your regen or your leech when you're like standing in them, right? But that's like, you can just avoid them, right? You can just not stand in them. So that's a bit more of a skill issue, I guess. But the no leech and max recovery reduction is kind of bricked. And yeah, I'm not reflect immune, so I can't do Fizz Reflection. But pretty much every other mod I can run. Like I said, I prefer Citadel. But the only one I really don't like is Sanctuary. And yeah, it's a pretty fun character. You can definitely invest even more into it, just buy a better axe. And I thought about maybe buying the Sublime Vision for Pride and getting explosions that way. You would have to drop Flesh and Stone, but that could be fine. Maybe use maybe Arctic Armor instead, because you're standing still a lot anyways. I'm using like Soul of Tokuhama, so you would be pretty tanky to fizz when you're standing still. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the build. It was a pretty good league start for me. Well, really good actually. I think it's kind of underestimated, but a lot of people just wanna, use what's meta. But you can definitely try different things and still be able to do all the endgame content and stuff like that. And yeah, I think I'm probably moving on to a different build after this one. Yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.